Hey everyone, I'm Mind, and this is set number 76996, Knuckles Guardian Mech from the LEGO Sonic the Hedgehog theme. This set contains 276 pieces, 2 minifigures, and will retail for $34.99 in the US when it officially releases on January 1st, 2024. So here's the Knuckles mech, and yes, this is a set that LEGO sent to me early. However, this isn't the set that LEGO sent to me early. The embargo for this hasn't come around yet, but my good friend Matthew, who lives in Florida, actually found this at a Walmart, and he was able to actually buy it and send it to me. I have heard from him and other people that January 2024 sets are starting to show up at Walmarts, especially down south in the US. So if you live around there and you want this set or another January 2024 set, that could be something worth looking into. But with that being said, let's take a look at this actual set. Now this is a build that I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't super excited for. I do like mechs, I cover a lot of mechs on this channel, but from the box art of this set, I didn't think this looked the best. I was excited for the Knuckles figure and the Rouge figure, which we'll see in a moment, but the actual mech didn't look that great. It just seemed kind of lanky and gappy and awkward, but I am very happy to say that that's not really the case at all with the actual build. I actually think this is a really good mech and a very unique one too. Mechs are a thing that LEGO does a lot, right? Like we get mechs in Marvel and Ninjago and Star Wars now for some reason. So after a while, some of the mechs feel a little bit samey, but no, this one does distinctly stand out to me in a very good way. So let's take a look at all of it. For the feet of the mech, they try to somewhat replicate the shoes that Knuckles wears, and I think they did a fairly good job with that. I like the yellow wings on the sides, and this is very funny because Knuckles has always had these things in his shoes that sort of look like Lego bricks, so now it's sort of come full circle where he has actual Lego studs on his shoes, and that fits really well. If you compare it to an actual picture of Knuckles, I think this is a pretty good representation. It should have been 6 studs, not just 4, but it's close enough. And again, this isn't meant to be Knuckles, this is meant to be a Knuckles mech, so I think it's good enough. There's some green around the ankle, and then I really love how this ball joint connects. There's a ton of friction there, so the foot like really stays in place if you want it to, and range of motion's really good. Forward and back is absolutely huge. Tons of poses you can get out of that. And side to side is not that much, but it's everything I could want for a foot. Because real life, feet side to side, not that much motion, so I don't need a ton of my mechs either. This is plenty. That forward and back, though, is amazing. The actual legs are somewhat simple and probably the weak point in this mech, but that doesn't make them bad either. They use the SCCBS joint pieces in red, of course, and something that I really like is actually on the underside right here. You can see there's this white tile connected there, which I don't know, it's a small thing, but I feel like it really ties this build together. I saw that and I was like, oh, this is actually kind of good. Just the fact that they took the care to make sure the underside looks nice and not just leave a giant hole there, it does make it feel like there was some extra love put into this build. That being said, I'm not the biggest fan of this giant gap right here. I guess it does make the mech look more mechanical, but I don't know, I think something to fill that in would have looked better. And then the outside is a little bit plain, like it is very red. I suppose it works fine for Knuckles, but maybe incorporating some of the white here would have been nice. Definitely not bad by any means, though. Then of course at the hips, the legs connect onto a ball joint, and there's a huge range of motion here, like there's nothing to really restrict that. So you could really do whatever you want with these legs, you could just throw them all over the place. This little bit right here is really the only part that gets in the way of anything. Now coming to the cockpit, the seating area, this part is actually great, and I think this is actually what looks the worst in the box art. From the box art, I was like, not really interested in that. Not looking amazing, but in hand, this is super unique, and I really love it. For one, this differentiates itself from other mechs because Knuckles is just out here exposed. He's not like in a fully enclosed cockpit, rather he's just sitting here. It does make the mech almost feel more mechanical, right? You get the proper sense of him actually piloting this thing, and I love that you can see the full minifigure. There's little handlebars right here, which I think are super cute. Of course, Knuckles can't hold on to those because he has the giant glove pieces, but if you wanted to, you could remove them from his hand so he could hold on to the handlebars, or you could have any other minifigure drive this mech. Removing him though, there's a full look at the cockpit, and yeah, I mean, I think that's nice. For an open, like, exposed cockpit, that looks really, really good. I especially love the angled pieces down here. Just a really nice shape to those. The Nexonite shield pieces at the back are actually printed parts, and again, it's that design from his shoes that's like somewhat Lego-like. It's cool to see that referenced again here, and I love that these are printed parts too, because they definitely didn't need to be. Like, they very easily could have been stickers, but it just makes the set feel more premium. Kind of interesting part, this is a battle droid arm in red. I don't know if that's noob, something tells me it's not, but I personally don't recognize it, though feel free to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. And then of course right next to the sitting area is 2 stud shooters, which of course, yes, you push down on, stud shoots out. But yeah, when you have Knuckles sitting in here, I just love how this looks. It truly feels like he's piloting the mech, right? Because a lot of LEGO mechs, while I do really love them, like including the Ninjago ones, they kind of just feel like you put the minifigure inside and then it's an action figure, which is very fun, don't get me wrong. But no, this feels mechanical, this feels like a mech. It actually, funnily enough, kind of reminds me of the mechs from the Avatar movie, like the original Avatar movie, which we got sets of last year. Just very similar vibes, where I can imagine like Knuckles slamming down on this to shoot a stud out, and it's also very easy for me to believe that he's actually using these handlebars to control this thing. As far as mechs go, this is very creative. I really love it so much. On the back of the mech, we have like these 3 quills coming off, and you can see these are on mini ball joints. I think these are fine. I don't think they were necessary, but they do add some extra dimension to the build. build. And then the arms are both exactly identical, but once again, they're very cool. They feel very cartoony and animated, which fits the Sonic world in my opinion. They use like these faceplate pieces, which have been used on like the Spider-Man buildable figure or the Iron Man buildable figure, but unprinted here in just solid red. And together with the rest of the arm, it makes it look like the mech has muscles. This is all built on top of an SCCBS joint too, but it's hidden away so well that, like, honestly, it's not super obvious. Like, yes, if you look super close, the bend is there, but I think this is the perfect use of that part. And then, of course, this is a Knuckles mech, so it has individual hands on the end, which are mini ball joints, and they're meant to look like Knuckles' fists, so it's got the spikes on the end and a little thumb right here. So it does feel like you could properly fight in this mech. Range of motion on the arms is pretty good. If you move the quills out of the way, it's a little bit bigger. You can't, like, fold it in or anything, but that's fine. You're able to fold it out, spin it around. And, of course, the fist moving separately does help for posability. And there's a look at the mech from the back. Of course, there is some anti-studs, but that looks perfectly fine to me. That gray piece is maybe a little ugly, but you know what? Just swap it out if you want a different color. I am genuinely super impressed by this mech. Like, I honestly was not expecting much from it. I'm excited to get Knuckles, I'm excited to get Rouge. The mech is just whatever. It's gonna be cool, but it's not gonna be on the level of, like, a Ninjago mech. But I have to say, I kinda love this. I wouldn't want, like, every LEGO mech to be like this, but I would like to see more like it. And I think this one makes great use of the SCCBS building system, especially on the arms. Like, that does it so well. It uses that rigid joint, but it's not super obvious. Just an all-around fantastic job by the designers. But of course, that isn't everything in this set. We also have this build right here, this flyer for Rouge the Bat. And you know what? This is super cute too. Obviously, it's significantly smaller, but I like a lot of what this has to offer. For one, we have like this classic LEGO camera piece right here, but in magenta, and I gotta assume that's a new recolor for this set. Maybe it's coming to LEGO Friends set or something, but I've personally never seen it before. So that's a really cool color to get that part in. The front of the flyer also has like a little bat face on it, which I think is adorable. They use like the heart pieces to be the nose, and it's immediately recognizable what it's supposed to be. And then the flyer itself also has bat wings, which funnily enough kind of reminds me of a Batman vehicle. Like, I could see a LEGO Batman polybag doing a very similar build, though without the face in the front and without the magenta. But yeah, the theming is on point here. And I think it's also just a fun build. You can see the wings can fold out as well as fold in if you want, and each individual wing is also on a mini ball joint, so you can move them around a little bit, flip them upside down if you want to, like, go the opposite direction. I think this is good for play. Now you can see there is handlebars at the back, and that's where Rouge herself can connect. And there's, like, no proper seat or anything. She just holds onto the back. And then finally, underneath the build, you can see there's a stud right here, and that ties into the final side build in this set, the Master Emerald. The Master Emerald's in, like, this little stand, and you can see the build of the actual Master Emerald comes from LEGO Disney Princess, I believe, which I don't think we've ever gotten this part outside of that line, so it's neat to see it in another theme. But of course, it works really well for this purpose here. But yeah, it's two separate parts. This bottom part actually works as a dress piece for LEGO Friends figures, if you're curious. But if you take the top part off, you can see inside we have 3 individual emeralds, I guess to be like pieces of the Master Emerald if it's destroyed. It's a cool thing to have to collect. You can see it just sits in this build right here, not too much going on with that. You just plop it in the top. But that is actually an anti-stud on top, and that's how it ties in with the Rouge side build. You connect the stud on the bottom of the flyer to the top of the emerald, and it can either be a way to pose the flyer with Rouge on it, or if you're actually playing with the build, it can be a way for her to steal the emerald and run away with it. All the builds in this set are fantastic all around. I think it's great for play, also looks nice for display, but I'll talk about all of that a little bit more at the end of this video, because of course we have one more thing to look at, and that's the minifigures. So here are the 2 minifigures in this set. We of course have Knuckles and Rouge the Bat. LEGO Sonic the Hedgehog has been knocking it out of the park with their minifigures, and these 2 are no exception. In fact, they might be 2 of the best ones we've gotten yet. Like, the level of detail here is truly incredible. Now, I say level of detail, but all things considered, they are like very cartoony, right? There's not like a ton going on in terms of prints, but it's the perfect amount of printing. It does everything it needs to represent these characters without feeling like overly detailed. Now both of these figures do have dual molded legs, which is super nice to see because that's not like the most common thing in the world. Yet they also still have shoe printing and leg printing. Knuckles has like a strip of green to be his socks, and then red on the front to represent his shoes, while Rouge has a strip of pink and these little hearts on her feet. Now of course the most interesting part of Knuckles is the new handpiece, and his gloves are actually attachments that go on top of his hands. So they are able to be removed, and here's how he looks with them removed. A little bit uncanny, definitely feels wrong, but it's an option you have if you want. Meanwhile, here's a look at that glove piece removed. You can see it's just got the 2 spikes at the top and a bar underneath to hold on to. It's very similar to like the cast piece that we've had for a few years. I think this was definitely the right choice rather than just like giving him molded hands. It just leads to more customizability. It also gives you more options with Knuckles too. If you want to have him pilot the mech and actually hold the steering wheel, you can. You just have to remove the glove pieces first. And then of course the all new molded head is spectacular. It's all new for this set, and they did go all out on it. It's not as crazy as like Shadow the Hedgehog because there's not like any printing back here, but it's a perfect representation of Knuckles. Like, what else can I say? say. The head is of course dual molded in light nougat and red, and I think this is a good expression that he has too. Like, this is very clearly Knuckles to me. Honestly, no complaints with this figure, it's everything I could want. And then Rouge is pretty great as well. Again, another all new molded head, and she actually has a back attachment with these little purple wings, these gargoyle wings. I believe they came in an old minifigure series. I think this might be a new color for them though. But yeah, really cool part to get. Dual molded arms on her too, which is a very nice touch. Definitely makes the figure feel extra premium, and that's another thing we don't see all too often. There's a look at her back torso print with the wings removed. You can see there is some discoloration on her skin, which is disappointing to see, but that's just been a thing with LEGO for years. I always point it out because I always want to see it improved, but it still has not improved, and I've been complaining about it since, what, 2020? And that's when I started this channel, but I think it's been an issue since 2018. So yeah, I really wish that skin color matched the skin of her arms and of her face, but that's just an issue that LEGO has, unfortunately. It's luckily not as obvious at the front just because that skin's not as prominent, but that issue is still there. And yeah, as I said, the new head mold's fantastic. I love the giant bat ears, and it looks great from all angles. It's a perfect translation of this character into an actual toy. I don't know if I said this yet, but as of right now, these figures are both new and exclusive to this set. Of course, there's a chance they come in more sets in the future, and actually I think that's pretty likely. But as of right now, this is your only way to get these two. However, I like them. I'm happy to get them here. It's really cool how LEGO Sonic's been doing their minifigures. They're not like oversaturating them, but they're also not making them too expensive to get. And every figure feels super high quality, like they could have been a minifigure series. Genuinely very impressed by these two. I think I definitely prefer Knuckles of the two, but they're perfect additions to the lineup. And I'm happy that we have another villain figure besides Eggman. And so, overall, what are my thoughts on this set? Well, in case you can't tell, I really love this set. Now, one thing I haven't talked about yet in this review is the price, and I think the price is fine. It's not good, don't get me wrong, the 35 is a little bit silly, but it's far from the worst price this year. I would have been perfectly happy with 30, and 25 is probably what it should have been. 35 is pushing it a little bit, but it's not the worst price thing ever. Especially when you consider like how nice the minifigures are, and that they're new, and they're exclusive, and this build is really, really good. So honestly, if you're a fan of LEGO Sonic and you have the money, this would be a set I recommend. Two brand new characters, two important characters, and genuinely a really good build. And if you're not a fan of LEGO Sonic, but you just like mechs, I don't know, this would be one I consider. This is not the best priced mech on the market right now, but it is one of the most unique ones, and that is something I very much appreciate. But of course, those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think of this set in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to my channel if you're new, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!